Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Pitchside Podcast channel. I'm your host, the HOD of the PSP. Like, share, comment on this video, subscribe to the channel. Most importantly, enable notifications to receive all the updates of the match recaps on this channel, of course, and the other content on the channel. We're coming off straight away after the game ended between Chelsea and Manchester City at the Stamford Bridge, and it was sad to watch. It was really sad to watch. Chelsea didn't have a lot in this game. I don't think that I have a lot to talk about, really. Guardiola, I think, played the game smart, choosing to start with a 4-1-4-1 kind of formation. Not exactly a double pivot of Rodri and Gundogan, giving him the opportunity to become more free to do his offensive part of things, because he doesn't know how to defend pretty much, alongside De Bruyne. And it really paid dividends, considering that the midfield of Chelsea wasn't exactly at its best level today. Kante, Kovacic and Mount were not a match today to the movement and the speed and movement of Manchester City players up front. Almost playing without a centre forward makes them even more lethal somehow. It was all Man City. Again, I don't have a lot to talk about. I think I would start from the second half and then go back to the first half, because the second half was completely sad, and I mean it like from the bottom of my heart. It was actually sad to watch at a certain point, watching Man City roll the ball around almost to a disrespectful level, rolling the ball around and not playing forward. I don't know, I don't want to say it's disrespectful, I don't want to assume or confirm that, but I think it looked very disrespectful for me, the way Manchester City plays. But I think more or less they have the right to do that. They defeated, they already were 3-0 leading, of course. I think the only thing that is damaged is my fantasy tally points, because I had Ruben Dias in the defensive part and I lost the clean sheet points. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. We're talking about the game here. Again, Man City was too quick. Chelsea started the game really good, and I think comparatively they were better in the first half, obviously way better in the first half than the second half. Although Ziyech returned, but we didn't see a lot of him on the pitch. His performance was so middling, so mediocre, just like the whole Chelsea performance. I'm not going to say it was, I think was it worse than the Arsenal performance? I would say yes, because despite the fact that they scored twice against, they scored once as well against Arsenal, sorry, but I think this performance was even worse from Chelsea, because it was more lifeless than the one against City, and City made it look lifeless, because City didn't drop deep. They kept playing the same style pretty much. They kept playing that smart movement. Again, no centre forward, no classic centre forward, which doesn't give them a focal point that that the defence of Chelsea could focus on and mark. So they decided to switch the movement. Kevin De Bruyne was moving wide and central. Sterling was moving wide and central. Bernardo Silva was moving central and wide. Gundogan again on the first goal, by the way. It was outrageous. Talk about brilliant goals and solo goals. Gundogan pulled a brilliant one as well. Again, you could blame a lot of the defending on Chelsea. The centre halves, Thiago Silva in particular, I think he was fooled in that one. Gundogan made him look like an absolute fool, turned around and smashed it past Edouard Mendy for the 1-0 lead. The second goal from Phil Foden, I think, is even more ridiculous. Ben Chilwell probably should have seen a pass coming. Like, he was the only one in the box to defend that goal, and he probably should have seen that Kevin De Bruyne has Phil Foden as an option, and maybe move a couple of steps forward and have the offside trap and let VAR probably decide if it was an offside. But again, with some stupid decision making from him, and he's looking behind him like he's thinking there's someone else behind him. Move forward, mate. Like, it was absolutely stupid. And the third goal, I think, sums up the best and the worst about this game. The best of Manchester City and the worst of Chelsea. The slow and methodic and bad sort of transition from offense to defense for Chelsea, versus the very smooth, very quick and very dangerous transition for Manchester City from a defensive position to an offensive position, and of course Sterling humiliating Edouard Mendy in the process as well, who's starting to look like the old days of Kepa. He already ran out of steam, it seems, Edouard Mendy. Like I was just saying, a couple of weeks ago, how he's a great goalkeeper and how he's keeping Chelsea out and he's making clean sheets and all. It dissipated in the last couple of games. In the last 4 games, literally, it really dissipated. And simply put it, Chelsea were no match for Manchester City. Again, this was so sad to watch at a certain point. From a Lampard point of view, this is going to be opening a lot of debate about the effectiveness of his side, the effectiveness of the new signing, really. Timo Werner having another shocker, Hakim Ziyech again being mediocre, Kai Havertz coming on in the second half and not having the best of additions, really. Yes, they scored late, but it was as consolation of a consolation, as consolation's goals would get, really, in football. A 90-second goal that pretty much City was just standing in that goal, like, it didn't bother me that they scored, because it didn't change the perspective of the game. Certainly, that at the time of the goal would definitely not change the perspective of the game. Overall, again, this was bad, very bad from Chelsea. A loss that could set them even further down a path that they I'm sure they don't want to go to. They are now in a really rough position, not just on the table, considering that they're now dropped to 8th and Southampton could go above them if they defeat Liverpool tomorrow at St Mary's. It is now a position where Lampard needs to defend himself, defend the team. He's going to be coming under the sword. He's going to come under the sword, really, by the board. The owners of the club, the hierarchy of the club had a lot of money to bring big signings, and the big signings were, I think, the biggest letdowns this season for Chelsea. The biggest improvement and the most improvement for Chelsea came in the form of Ben Chilwell, who is already Premier League stalwart, of course, he knows the Premier League. Olivier Giroud, already a player in the team and sort of a starter, but not a starter exactly, a utility player somehow. And of course, Reece James, the academy graduate and the young right back. So these are your sorts of brilliance this season, and Hakim Ziyech for a while. Aside from that, your big signings didn't work, and certainly the board is not going to be paying more money to bring more signings in January, that is for sure. That is the end for my recap for the Chelsea-Man City game. Of course, like, share, comment on this video what you thought of the game, subscribe to the channel, enable notifications to receive the updates of the channel. PSP on Twitter, follow me there, PitchSidePod on Instagram, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or Anchor, or wherever you would listen to podcasts from for the podcast tomorrow. And I was with HOD at the PSP. I will see you after the Bayern Munich vs Mainz game. We'll talk about that a little bit later, and I'll be seeing you soon. Goodbye.